Hello and welcome into yet another edition of the Pole Position, your source for news and information in the world of motorsports. Garth McMahon's coming to you solo here this time. No Tommy Poole or Andrew Moore this time. Both of them had other priorities this time, so you get just me this time, which we'll try to make as little boring for you as possible. I know a conversation's probably more ideal to listen to here, but we'll make the best of it, and I'll try to be as interesting as possible for you here. So let's just dive right into things here. And I know we've been off for a couple weeks now, so a lot of things has happened over the past couple weeks. We're 2 rounds into the chase for the Sprint Cup now. The third round, the Eliminator Round, begins this week at the Martinsville Speedway for the Sprint Cup Series. But we also have a Camping World Truck Series event this weekend as well. The trucks will be in action from Martinsville also, and that's what we'll start off our conversation with this week, and then we'll head into the Sprint Cup Series. But before we even get to the truck race, we do have a few pieces of news to pass along. First off, for those of you that might have heard, since we didn't have a show last week and we didn't get to report on this, but some of you might have heard the 31 car for Ryan Newman following the race at Talladega measured too low in post-race inspection, and it was taken back to the NASCAR R&D Center for further evaluation. Everyone expected them to get a penalty, but apparently NASCAR took it back to the R&D Center and found that it was some sort of a natural problem, whether that be from bump drafting or whatever, and there wasn't something intentional from the team, thus did not give the 31 team a penalty, which is good news on that front. Never like to see a team get any kind of a penalty, especially if it's from something that wasn't of their own doing. 2 other pieces of information here. First off, starting next week at Texas Motor Speedway, not this week at Martinsville, but next week, the 41 team and the 10 team at Stewart-Haas Racing will swap crew chiefs. So Tony Gibson, who is currently Danica Patrick's crew chief, will go over to Kurt Busch's team, and Daniel Knost, who is Kurt Busch's crew chief currently, will go over to the 10 team with Danica Patrick. Tony Gibson has been with Danica ever since she moved up in her rookie season last year to the Sprint Cup Series, and Knost was moved up this season to be crew chief for Kurt Busch when he came over to Stewart-Haas Racing. He moved up from a race engineer position, and no word on whether either one will be permanent. Greg Zipadelli, the vice president of competition for SHR, has said that this is basically just to evaluate their program and get a head start on 2015, and it's an opportunity especially for Patrick and Knost, to gain a rapport that could potentially continue into 2015. That's the key word here, potentially. Doesn't necessarily mean that it will continue into next year, but it is something they're looking at, and with the ban on testing next year outside of Goodyear tire tests, it makes getting a head start on 2015 like this that much more important. So that out of the way here, and our final piece of news for this week, changes coming next year to the Nationwide Series and it'll be the Xfinity Series next year and the Camping World Truck Series. First off, beginning next year, the qualifying rule that is in place for the Sprint Cup Series currently will also apply to the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series. That being basically what they did this year with the Cup Series was they eliminated the top 35 rule. Like if you're in the top 35 in points, you're automatically guaranteed in the race, and they had done away with provisionals. They brought back provisionals this year, which was evident by the fact that Ricky Stenhouse and Justin Allgaier missed the race at Talladega. So that will be coming back in the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series next year. So no more. Up until this point, it had been the top 30 in the Nationwide Series was locked in, and the top 25 in the Truck Series was locked in. So top 30 in the Xfinity Series. I'm not sure if I said that or if I just said top 30 and went to the truck series. Anyway, the number of trucks in the starting field will change next year as well. It will decrease from 36 to 32 trucks next year. The Xfinity Series will stay at 40 cars, and the Sprint Cup Series will stay at 43 cars. An interesting change there. I'm not really sure why they did that. I believe it was this year that they knocked back the what is right now the Nationwide Series starting field from 43 to 40. And I kind of understood that because there had been a lot of field fillers recently in the Nationwide Series, and in some races they weren't even getting 43 cars. So I understood dropping it to 40 cars. I'm not sure, though, that I really understand dropping it to 32 trucks in the Truck Series, though, because it doesn't seem to me like they've had a problem filling out the truck races. There's not that many starting parks, really, if any. So it'd be interesting to see how that works going forward. And just like in the Sprint Cup Series starting next year, the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series vehicles will have the driver's last name placed on the back window. In the Cup cars, it is on the front windshield. In the Xfinity cars and the Camping World trucks, it will be on the back window of both of them. That way, for the Xfinity cars, Xfinity can be placed across the windshield, and for the trucks, Camping World can be placed across the windshield for them. So, just for helping fans better identify the drivers is the terminology that NASCAR used for this. I like the idea of this. I've liked it ever since they started doing it in the Cup Series. I don't know that I'd say it's a great change, but at the same time, I like it. I don't have a problem with it. So it's a really cool thing that they do with that, and it helps you, especially for the guys that don't really run up front all the time. Some people might look at those cars and go, I don't know who that is, but now you can kind of see the name a little more prominently, either in the Cup Series on the windshield or in the other two series on the back window. So that'll help out more in the future with driver recognition in that respect, rather than just having the name really small above the driver's window and the passenger side window. So that'll do it for news, and let's move now into the truck race coming up this weekend from the Martinsville Speedway. It'll be the Kroger 200, the 16th annual Kroger 200 at Martinsville. Martinsville is always a fun track. I love short tracks, especially in the Truck Series. They're always so fun to watch, and the trucks are always fun to watch to begin with. You put trucks on a short track, and it's just like you've been taken back to the 70s in NASCAR. Put Darrell Waltrip, Dale Earnhardt, Bill Elliott, those guys on a short track. That's what you've got in the Truck Series these days, and it's fantastic. It's going to be an interesting race, though. The championship battle closed up a little bit last week. Crafton had been inching away from Johnny Sauter, and while Johnny Sauter had a bad race last week at Talladega, Crafton didn't have the best race either, although he was running. Sauter did not finish the race. Ryan Blaney had a fantastic race, finishing in the top 5, and Bubba Wallace picked up a top 10. Both of those guys gained on Matt Crafton last week, while Johnny Sauter lost a lot of ground. But that tightens the points race up now going into Martinsville, with now 4 races remaining. The Truck Series has just as many races remaining now as the Cup Series. Nationwide Series has 3 races remaining. They'll pick back up next weekend for the remainder of the season. But looking down through the stats of our 4 title contenders right now, well, first let's look at the points here. Ryan Blaney sitting 16 points out from Matt Crafton right now. That's not that big of a margin. 4 races. Matt Crafton has another mediocre race. If Ryan Blaney has a good race, he's going to be right there ready to pounce. So this championship battle is not over yet by any means. Bubba Wallace still within striking distance, 28 points back. Johnny Sauter still right there on the fringe. He's going to need a bad race from Matt Crafton, though, and he's probably going to need a win to get back into this. He's sitting 36 points out in the 4th position. Timothy Peters moved into the top 5 after his win at Talladega, but he's 77 points behind and basically eliminated. I'm not sure if he's mathematically eliminated to this point, but realistically he's eliminated. Stats, though, for your top 4 guys at Martinsville, they have some pretty good stats here. Matt Crafton, your points leader, we'll start with him. He has 1 win. That was back in the spring race this season. So he could be looking for the Martinsville sweep this season, which would put him in pretty good shape leaving Martinsville in the championship hunt. Also has 5 top 5s and 13 top 10s at Martinsville. So he's had a very good record at this track in the Truck Series dating back to 2001. Ryan Blaney, he has 2 top 5s, those being his last 2 races, both of them 5th place finishes. 3 top 10s overall in 4 starts. He's only had 4 starts at this track, so has run very well here in the past. Bubba Wallace, though, I think overall in terms of average finish, has the best record of any of these 4. He has 1 win. That was this race last year at Martinsville, and he has 3 top 5s in 3 starts. So every race he has run at Martinsville, that being last year's win in this race, and then this year's spring race and last year's spring race, were both top 5 finishes. Bubba Wallace is really, really good at Martinsville, and I would not be surprised to see him win this race. And say Matt Crafton has a bad day, if Bubba Wallace wins, he's right there. And so is Ryan Blaney if he has a good day, and I think he probably will have a good day too. So Matt Crafton cannot afford to falter this week with these 2 guys behind him having one of their best tracks this week for both of them. Johnny Sauter, though, has a good record at this track as well. He has 2 wins. Spring race of 2011 and the spring race of 2013, all on top of 4 top 5s and 5 top 10s at this track. So not stellar numbers, but he does have 2 wins, and they're not bad numbers either. Obviously, I mean, if you wanted to track 2 times, you obviously know how to get around there. Maybe you just had a little bit of bad luck. So all 4 of these guys could potentially have really good runs this week, and I think barring any problems, they all will have good runs. That's the question, though. Who has problems this week? Because Martinsville seems to be another wild card in all these championship hunts, just like Talladega, and you could get taken out like that, all of a sudden you're out of the championship hunt. So it's going to be really interesting to see who ends up getting the good finish that their stats promise and who ends up having the bad luck. I'm going to predict that at least one of these guys will get caught up in a wreck or have some sort of a problem in this race, and it will take them out of the championship hunt. But prediction for this week, I say Bubba Wallace wins this race, gets his 2nd win of his career at Martinsville and his 3rd win of the season, and puts himself right back in the championship hunt. Ryan Blaney has a good race too. Matt Crafton, I'm going to say probably finishes in the top 10 somewhere. But I think both of those guys finish in front of him, and they chip into that lead a little bit more as we get into these final 3 races of the season. It's going to be exciting to watch. I'm going to be glued to the TV this weekend. I am not going to want to miss this, as I'm sure you won't either. This is going to be a fantastic race. The trucks always are. Be sure to watch it. Fox Sports 1 on Saturday. Coverage starts 1 p.m. for the pre-race and 1:30 for the race itself. So we're going to step aside here really quickly, and when we come back, we're going to talk the Sprint Cup action this weekend from the Martinsville Speedway. Lots to talk about. We're down to 8 for the Eliminator Round, and we got some interesting tracks coming up in this round that could possibly eliminate some of the favorites. So stick with us, and we'll talk about that in the next segment. This is the Pole Position. And welcome back to the Pole Position, your first source for news and information in the world of motorsports. Lots happening this weekend in the world of NASCAR. We already talked about the truck race coming up this weekend, the Kroger 200. Like I said in the first segment, you don't want to miss that one. The trucks are always fun to watch, especially at Martinsville. I try to never miss a truck race because they're just so fun to watch, especially right now with the somewhat tight points battle they got going on. I mean, it's not as tight as it probably could be, but it's tight enough to have some excitement and to give you the thought of if something happens, boom, we got 3-4 guys right in this right now, and it's definitely possible. Matt Crafton did not have a good race last week at Talladega, so it's possible that Ryan Blaney, Bubba Wallace, and Johnny Sauter could all get back into it this weekend in Martinsville. So anyway, this is the Cup segment, so we'll get into talking about that. And first, we're going to start off with the race this weekend, then move into chase predictions for the Eliminator Round. If you're not familiar, we got 8 guys left right now vying for what will be 4 spots following the race in Phoenix 3 weeks from now, and you'll have 4 guys going for the championship at Homestead Miami Speedway in a little over a month. So lots to look forward to here in the coming weeks, and this is going to be an exciting round. We got some really good tracks in this round. I mean, it seems to be getting more and more exciting the further we get into the chase, because it seems like a lot of these guys are having problems at tracks you wouldn't expect them to have problems at, especially in the last round. I mean, Keselowski, Johnson, and Jr. with all their problems, both at Kansas and Charlotte, and then Keselowski coming back out of nowhere and winning at Talladega, fighting his way into this round. So you don't know what's going to happen right now, and that's the excitement of this chase format. And it's that way at Martinsville. I mean, let's look at the race first off, and we'll look at the 8 Eliminator Round drivers. We'll look at their stats here and go through who we think has the best chances to win on Sunday and punch their ticket to Homestead. I mean, that's what's on the line right now. That's what's on the line in this round. You win a race in this round, you are guaranteed to have a shot for the championship. The rounds before this, if you won a race, you were just guaranteed to continue having a shot to go forward to get to the championship. You win a race now, you are in the championship round no matter what. So wins mean more than anything right now. So let's look at the 8 chase drivers going into Martinsville this weekend. We'll start with Joey Logano, the points leader right now. Not the best finishes in the past at Martinsville. He's only got 2 top 5s and 3 top 10s coming into this race. An average finish of only 14.8 in 11 races. Not stellar numbers at Martinsville, but he is in the middle of a career year right now. So, you might give him a little bit of a waiver on that. It's kind of up in the air of what exactly will happen there, because he's run really well at tracks this year that you wouldn't have expected him to run well at in the past. Kevin Harvick sitting second in points right now. I'm saying first and second in points. Technically, everyone's tied right now because they reset the points after every round, but this is the order NASCAR's got them listed in right now. Kevin Harvick, 1 win at Martinsville, 3 top 5s and 12 top 10s, an average finish of 15.8 in 26 races. So some decent numbers there. Kevin Harvick, been pretty good at Martinsville in the past. Look for him to run really well this weekend, as he has basically every weekend this season. Ryan Newman has a win at Martinsville. 7 top 5s and 11 top 10s, along with 3 poles. Average finish of 15.5 in 25 races, so just slightly better than Kevin Harvick. And almost the same number as Joey Logano in over double the races. So he's kind of right on par with those guys. So I expect him to run just as good as those guys do this weekend, if not a little bit better. Denny Hamlin, 4 wins at Martinsville. He's second most of any of the 8 Eliminator drivers right now. 9 top 5s, and 13 top 10s. So he has run very well at Martinsville in the past, one of his home tracks being from Virginia. And he has 3 poles as well. Average finish of 8.8 in 17 races. That is also a second best number of any of these Eliminator guys. Look for him to be right up front, possibly contending for the win this weekend. Matt Kenseth, 4 top 5s, 10 top 10s, average finish of 15.0 in 29 races. Not the best numbers. And Matt, honestly, has not been stellar at Martinsville in the past. I really don't look for him to do all that well this weekend. Maybe squeak out a top 10, but honestly, I'm figuring more like a top 15. Carl Edwards, 1 top 5, 5 top 10s, average finish of 15.7 in 20 races. He's in the same boat as Matt Kenseth. He's not that great at Martinsville, and I don't expect him to do that great this weekend. I look for him to maybe squeak out a top 15, but I'm not even sure he'll be able to pull out a top 15. He's not great at Martinsville. Jeff Gordon, best stats of anyone in the Eliminator Round at Martinsville Speedway. 8 wins, most of any active driver at Martinsville. 27 top 5s, 34 top 10s, 7 poles, and an average finish of 7.0 in 43 starts. 43 starts to average a finish of 7th. Think about that for a second. Think about all the chances you've got to bring that number down, maybe with a wreck or blown tire or just a bad day overall. And in 43 starts at Martinsville, Jeff Gordon has averaged a finish of 7th. Jeff Gordon is, you could almost call him the king of Martinsville. With the position he's in right now, I think he is definitely one of the favorites this weekend because he knows this might be his best chance to get into Homestead. And while Texas and Phoenix are really good tracks for him too, Martinsville is his best track in this round by far. And I think he's going to be gunning for that win this weekend. And I wouldn't look past him. He's going to be right up there and probably contending for the win in this one. Brad Keselowski, last driver of the 8, 1 top 5, 5 top 10s, average finish of 13.4 in 9 races. Not stellar numbers, but the average finish is not bad. So you look at that, and he hasn't really had a bad race, because you think about that. He's only had 4 races outside the top 10 in those 9 races that he's had at Martinsville, and he's still averaging a 13.4. So he's not really had a bad race at Martinsville. I mean, I don't remember his numbers specifically, but I would guess he hasn't had a run outside the top 15 at Martinsville, so I expect him probably to get a solid top 10 this weekend, if not a top 5. He's in that mode right now that you really you can't rely on stats with Brad Keselowski right now. So, winner this weekend at Homestead. My prediction for a winner. I gotta go with Jeff Gordon. You can't pick against Jeff Gordon at Martinsville. I mean, look at these numbers. You can't bet against 8 wins, 27 top 5s, and 34 top 10s, and an average finish of 7th in 43 races. You cannot bet against that. So for that reason, I don't see any other option but to pick Jeff Gordon for a winner this weekend. Now, let's move into looking at the Eliminator Round as a whole and making predictions here as we move forward, and looking at who will possibly be in the Final Four at Homestead. And we're going to do something a little bit different here. We're gonna do this like a Magic 8-Ball kind of thing. We're going to give a short description of how this driver does in these 3 races in this round of the chase, and give an answer tailored to what a Magic 8-Ball would give as to their chances of advancing to Homestead. And we'll start with Joey Logano. His past stats in the Eliminator Round tracks are kind of worrisome. I mean, he has the lowest driver rating, which I'm really not sure how they figure these. I just know the higher the number, the better the driver rating, and he's sitting at an 80.9. I think The best is like a 150. So he's way off there for these 3 tracks. And he's got the 3rd lowest average finish. But still, like I said when we were talking about the race itself for Martinsville, he's in the midst of a career year. And it's hard to handicap tracks for him this year because he's running so much better as a whole than he has in the past. So I'm going to shake up the Magic 8 Ball here, and it's telling me, reply hazy, try again. So Magic 8 Ball's not even sure what Joey Logano is going to do in this round. Kevin Harvick, if he absolutely needs a win at Phoenix, if he can't get one at Texas or Martinsville, no sweat. I mean, he's won the last 2 races at Phoenix and 3 of the last 4 at Phoenix. So it's hard to bet against Kevin Harvick here. Let's shake up our Magic 8 Ball here. And it says signs point to yes. So according to the Magic 8 Ball, Kevin Harvick going to be in the Final 4 at Homestead following Phoenix. Ryan Newman, his driver rating at the upcoming 3 tracks is not much better than Joey Logano's. It's 82.6, and his average finish over those tracks since last year is just 20.1. So not looking too good at the upcoming tracks for Ryan Newman, not his best tracks. And I'm not expecting a good answer here. So let's shake up our Magic 8 Ball here. And it says, outlook not so good. So, Magic 8 Ball crossing Ryan Newman off the list very quickly. And we'll move to Denny Hamlin. At the upcoming 3 tracks, only Jeff Gordon has more wins, those being 11 than Hamlin, who has 7 wins at these 3 tracks combined. And Gordon's done it in twice as many starts. I mean, this round really sets up perfectly for Denny Hamlin. He's not had the best year, but Joe Gibbs Racing's been coming around lately. And I wouldn't bet against Joe Gibbs Racing right now. I mean, I know Kyle Busch got eliminated last week by that freak accident in Talladega, but you still got Matt Kenseth and Denny Hamlin in here. Shake up the 8 Ball here, and it is decidedly so, is what the Magic 8 Ball says. So, Magic 8 Ball predicting Denny Hamlin to get to Homestead. That's one I wouldn't have expected. I mean, I know these are good tracks for him, but thinking about who's left in the chase, I would not quite have expected that. So right now we've got Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin moving forward, according to our Magic 8 Ball friend here. Let's go to Matt Kenseth here. He needs to get to finish. He needs to get to Phoenix really with a cushion, or better yet, a win. He needs to win at Texas or at Martinsville this weekend. Phoenix, not one of his better tracks. His last 2 finishes at Phoenix were 12th and 23rd. But his last 2 at Martinsville and Texas were each finishes of 7th or better. So it's really up in the air right now. If he wins at Martinsville or Texas, he's automatically in. But if he doesn't, chances aren't real good. All right, we'll shake up our Magic 8 Ball here, and it says, concentrate and ask again. Well, basically the same thing it told us for Joey Logano. All right, moving on then. Carl Edwards. Top 15s really won't cut it in the Eliminator Round, and that's basically what he's been doing lately. And even though his finishes at Martinsville, Texas, and Phoenix in the last races, those tracks were solid, they'll have to improve big time to get to Homestead. His finishes last year at these tracks were 13th at Martinsville, 14th at Texas, and 8th at Phoenix. That's not going to cut it to get to Homestead, where you're basically going to have to finish. Really, you're probably going to have to average a top 3 if you don't win a race. And maybe even better than that. So that's not going to cut it. We'll shake up our Magic 8 Ball here, and don't count on it. So, Magic 8 Ball crossing Carl Edwards off the list here. And we'll go to Jeff Gordon. He has more wins, that being 11. The top average running position, that is 10.3. and the top driver rating of 103.7 at the next 3 tracks among any of these 8 that are remaining in contention. So really, honestly, I would put Jeff Gordon as probably the best chance of anyone right now to move on to Homestead. Does that mean he will? No. But I think he's got the best shot if you look at past history. We'll shake up our 8 ball here, and it says you may rely on it. So, Jeff Gordon, according to the Magic 8 ball, going to Homestead. We have 3 drivers now going to Homestead according to the 8 ball. Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, and Jeff Gordon. Our final driver is Brad Keselowski. Among those still in the chase, he's the only driver without a win at the next 3 tracks. However, he has finished in the top 10 in 11 of his last 15 races at these tracks. So not the best numbers, but not the worst numbers either. Top 10s may not cut it, though, right now, but he's in championship mode, so that may help him out just a little bit. We'll shake up our 8 ball here, and it says most likely. So, according to the 8 ball, in terms of the best answers that it gave, we've got Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Jeff Gordon, and Brad Keselowski in the final 4. I'm a little surprised by Hamlin. Honestly, I probably would have gone with Joey Logano, but we're going by the Magic 8 ball here. It knows all. So, and honestly, looking at stats, Denny Hamlin would not surprise me over Joey Logano because Hamlin's really good at these next 3 tracks. Logano hasn't been in the past, so we'll have to see moving forward if the Magic 8 ball really knows all. So that'll about do it here for us this week on the preview show for the pole position. I know we're I think a couple minutes over right now, but it's okay. I'm sure you all don't mind, and if you do, you probably tuned out by now anyway. So that'll about do it for us this week. Be sure to tune in on Monday for our recap of Martinsville. I'm sure it's going to be very, very hectic, and don't forget to tune in. It'll be on ESPN Sunday, 1 p.m. For the pre-race and 1:30 for the race itself. So that'll do it. Thank you for tuning in, and this has been The Pole Position. I am Garth McMains, signing off.